Hey everybody, how's it going? Today's Wednesday, April 21st. Actually, I've been lying to you this whole time. Today is actually Tuesday, April 21st. Tomorrow's Wednesday, April 22nd. You're going to be seeing this on Wednesday. I always tape these things a day in advance. So, yesterday, I, like all of you, got the news that the governor has decided to uh, shut us down as far as like being in school physically for the rest of the year. And I wanted to address that just a little bit. If you haven't heard by now, Mr. Scrucci has said that we will continue to provide online learning until May the 29th, which is when we would have been in school anyway, which I'm glad he's going to do. I'm glad we're going to continue to try and have some sort of normalcy. But I'd be lying if I told you that this wasn't a complete kick in the pants for me personally. I love my job. You guys are smart kids. You know, you can tell which teachers do and which teachers don't. I hope it's been pretty obvious to you that I love what I do, and a big part of that, actually the biggest part of that, is you guys. So I feel a deep sense of kind of loss and sadness that we won't get to finish the deal like we should have. Um, you guys are going to be robbed of the in-person Hudak experience and all the things that we would have done at the end of the year. But we'll try and keep it as normal as we can. So I just wanted to tell you guys, if you're feeling upset by all this, you're not alone. Your teachers feel the same way, or at least the good ones do. And especially to you seniors and you spring sports athletes, I'm just so sorry that this is happening to you. As a track coach myself, and I have two sons that were on my track team, and it's just heartbreaking that they're not going to get a chance to compete this year, and it's just a lost opportunity. But life does go on, and there are bigger things in the world than the last 3 months of a school year or a spring season. But it still sucks. Okay, end of rant. Today we are talking about ratings. And so yesterday I talked about how shows get on TV. Now we're going to shift gears and about how shows get off of TV. And tomorrow we'll talk about, I'm going to give you 10 reasons why shows get canceled. But honestly, the biggest reason at the end of the day is usually ratings. So, what are ratings? Ratings are a measurement of two things: how many people are watching and who is watching any particular show. Since the 50s, since the very beginning of television, there's been one company that's really been synonymous with this, and that's a company called the AC Nielsen Company. And AC Nielsen is a consumer research company that does market research for all kinds of things. They do it for supermarkets and retail stores, but they're most famous for what they do for TV. And what they do for TV is they measure ratings. So there's two numbers that you're likely to hear when it comes to TV ratings. One of them is a rating, and a rating is measured by points. And currently, one for each rating point that a show gets, that's equal to 1,159,000 households. So if a show gets a rating of one, over a million people watched it. Um, how do they know that? Well, there's a couple different ways. The most common way is that Nielsen has what are known as Nielsen families, and what they've done is they took basically the census of the United States, and they got the breakdown of age and race and gender, and then they contact families anonymously and secretly, and they ask for volunteers for families to put Nielsen boxes into their homes. And a Nielsen box is a little black doodad that is hooked up through the cable box, and you get a special remote. And each family member has their own little code. My my stool just broke. Apparently, I've been eating way too much because my stool just broke. All right, glad you were here to witness that. Anyway, um, so they have this rating, this Nielsen box, and so if my family were a Nielsen family, and by the way, if we were, I could not tell you The only way you're allowed to reveal if you're a Nielsen family is if somebody literally is in your house and they point at it and they go, "What's that?" You're allowed to go, "It's a Nielsen box." Other than that, it's supposed to be a secret. And the reason why it's supposed to be a secret is they don't want the networks or advertisers finding out who the Nielsen families are and bribing them, because that would totally happen. So anyway, if my family were a Nielsen family, and we're not, or are we? Anyway, each family member would have a code, and so if it were me, I would code in every time I turn the TV on, and they would know that on Tuesday night, a 45-year-old Caucasian male was watching The Bachelor. Don't judge. I don't, but if I did, screw you for judging me. Anyway, and then everybody in the family does that. So why would you want to be a Nielsen family? I don't know. To be part of the system, I don't know why you would want to do it, but that's the main way they do it. So if you see like a ratings number, and Nielsen puts them out every week, that's usually where the number comes from. They also do a couple of other things. 8 times during the year, there are what are called sweeps weeks. And you can always tell when it's sweeps week because that's when your favorite show has that can't miss episode with a very special guest star, or like for example, I used to watch 30 Rock, was one of my favorite shows, and during sweeps week Matt Damon was on. Or there was a show called ER that was on in the 90s as a hospital show, and during sweeps week Quentin Tarantino directed an episode. So sweeps week are meant to really drive up the ratings numbers. And then another thing that they'll do is they'll do either cold call uh, telephone surveys, or they'll send out a mailer. And I have one of these in my room, and I would have showed it to you guys. But it's basically it's a TV diary, and you put down like your information, age, gender, etc., and then you log everything you watch on TV and you mail it in, and they mail you back $5 if you do it. So those are the main ways they do it. Why do they do it? Well, like I said, it tells them two things. It tells them how many people watch, which is an important number, but sometimes, or usually even more important, is demographics, which is a fancy way of saying who is watching it. The other number you might hear is a share, and I don't really care about shares, but a rating is based on every Nielsen household, whether the TV's on or not, and the share is an estimate of how many households are tuned in, um, and the number is based on the number of TVs that are on. So the share is always higher than the rating is, but there you go. And here I do some terrible math. So if we have 2,500 metered homes, and I think the number is closer to 4,000, but whatever, and 1,000 have their TV on, and 500 are tuned into CSI. So the ratings would be: you take your 2,500 TVs, total number of TVs monitored, divided by 500, which would give you a rating of 20, which is, by the way, an unheard of number today. Right? We'll talk about that in a minute. The share, if only 1,000 of those TVs were on, they would use that as their divisor, and the share would be 50. So why ratings are important? They tell TV and ad execs how many people are watching and who is watching. So, which number is more important, or which category is more important? I'll give you some examples. So today, the ratings of TV today aren't remotely close to what they used to be, because there are so many different channels and so many ways to watch television, and it's harder to get a gauge of who's watching what. But today, if something would pull in a rating of an 8 or a 9, which would be over 10, 11 million people or households watching, that would be a huge number. In the 50s, when they first started doing this, and there were only 3 networks, 3 channels, I Love Lucy would pull in a rating in the 40s regularly. I think it had a rating of a 50 at one point. You'd never see that today. Not even the Super Bowl gets those kind of ratings. So what's more important, how many or who? You guys ever hear of the show The Beverly Hillbillies? It was an awesome show. It was on in the 60s and 70s, about a poor family that lived in the backwoods, and the dad, while hunting, shoots at an animal and misses, but oil starts coming out of the ground where the bullet hit, and they strike it rich and they move to Beverly Hills. Blah blah blah. Well, that show was the number one rated show, and then it got canceled the next year. So why in the world would you cancel the number one rated TV show? Well, there's a problem. A ton of people were watching it. You know who loved that show? Uh, Old people, kids, and hillbillies. Traditionally, those are three demographic groups that don't spend money on stuff. And so it got canceled because it was, they had a ton of people watching it, but it was the wrong kind of people watching it. What they care about is usually the who, advertisers at least. If you want to know what the prize demographic is, you're looking at it. Average white guy, age 25 to 50, because we spend the most money. Not me personally. I'm broke, but other people. Actually, you guys should know this. I'm fabulously wealthy. This teaching gig is just a side deal I do. I'm actually really super rich. And by day, I'm a mild mannered teacher. By night, I fight crime. So I probably shouldn't have told you that, but there you go. My alias, Fat Man. So there you go. All right. So tomorrow we're going to get into the why a show might get canceled, and I've already talked about some of that. Tomorrow we'll get a lot more in detail with that. But there you go. Those are ratings, and now that you know what they are, and you hear ratings mentioned, that's what they're talking about. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, Thursday. Don't forget that now we are on to weekly journals, and those will be due basically Sunday night before the next Monday. So you guys will have one due this Sunday. And also, you had an assignment yesterday where you're supposed to create a pilot for me. That should be really easy and short. Hope you guys have fun with that. What you're going to find is that your ideas, although probably incredibly stupid, are infinitely better than real ideas that have actually been pitched to TV execs. So we'll have fun with that if you guys tune in to Game Day Thursday. All right, that's it for today. Peace and love. Miss the hell out of you guys, and hope you guys are staying safe. We'll talk to you soon.